Welcome back, Fan-Fueled family. Today's book is The Gold Ribbon of Merit, which you voted for in the last poll. It's a story of a man tutoring an old friend in the art of marksmanship. Let's get to it. In that early springtime morning, pale sunlight flickered behind the morning mist floating through the trees as Templar and Stringpool made their way to the clearing. Neither had been back to High Rock, let alone in their favorite woods, for 4 years. The trees had changed little even if they had. Stringpool had a handsome blonde mustache now, stiffened and spiked with wax, and Templar seemed to be a completely alien creature to the young lad who searched for adventure in the ancient grove. He was much quieter, as if scarred within as well as without. They each carried their bows and quivers with extra care as they maneuvered their way through the clusters of vine and branch. "This is the path that used to lead to your house, isn't it, old boy?" asked Stringpool. Templar glanced at the overgrowth and nodded before continuing on. "I thought so," said Stringpool and laughed. "I remember it because you used to run down it every time you got a bloody nose. I know I can't offend you, but I have to say it's hard to believe that you ended up a soldier." "How's your family?" asked Templar. "The same. A bit more pompous if that's possible. It's obvious they wish I'd come back from the academy, but there's nothing much for me here. At least not until I collect my inheritance. Did you see I got a gold ribbon for merit in archery?" "How could I miss it?" said Templar. "Oh yes, I nearly forgot that the families put it in the Great Hall. Very ostentatiously. I suppose you can actually see it through the picture window. Silly, but I hope the peasants are impressed." The clearing opened up before them where the mist settled on the grass, enveloping it in an opaque, chilly vapor. Burlap targets were arranged around in a semicircle, several meters apart like sentinels. "You've been practicing," observed Templar. "Well, a bit. I've only been back in town for a few days," said Stringpool with a smile. "My parents said you got here a week ago?" "That's right. My unit's camped a few miles east, and I thought I'd visit the old haunts. A lot's changed. I could hardly recognize anything at all." Templar looked down at the valley below, to the vast, empty, tilled ground stretching out for miles around. "It looks like a good planting. My family's rather spread out since yours left. There was some discussion, I think, about keeping your old house up, but it seemed a little sentimental. Especially as there was fertile ground beneath." Stringpool strung his bow carefully. It was a beautiful piece of art, darkest ebony and spun silver filigrees, hand-crafted for him in Wayrest. He looked over at Templar stringing his bow and felt a twinge of pity. It was a sad, weathered utensil bound together with strips of fabric. "If that's how they taught you to string your bow, you need some advisors from the academy in that army of yours," said Stringpool as gently as he could. "The untightened loop is supposed to look like an X in an O. Yours looks like a Z and a Y." "It works for me," said Templar. "I should tell you, I won't be able to make an afternoon of this. I'm supposed to join my unit this evening." Stringpool began to feel annoyed by his old friend. If he was angry about his family losing their land, why couldn't he just say it? Why did he come back to the valley at all? He watched Templar knock his first arrow, taking aim at a target, and coughed. "I'm sorry, but I can't in good faith send you back to the army without a little new wisdom. There are 3 types of draw. 3 fingers, thumb and index, thumb and 2 fingers. Then there's the thumb draw, which I like, but you see," Stringpool showed Templar the small leather loop fastened on the cord of his bow. "You need to have one of these thingies or you'll tear your thumb right off. I think I like my stupid method best. Don't be pig-headed, Templar. They didn't give me the gold ribbon of merit for nothing. I had demonstrated shooting from under a shield, standing, sitting, squatting, kneeling, and sitting on horseback. This is practical information I'm imparting for the sake of our friendship, which I, at least, haven't completely forgotten. Sweet Kennereth, I remember when you were just an oily little squirt begging for this kind of honest guidance." Templar looked at Stringpool for a moment and lowered his bow. "Show me." Stringpool relaxed, shook away the tensions that had been building. He did his exercise, drawing the bow back to his eyebrow, his mustache, his chest, his earlobe. "There are 3 ways of shooting: snatching and releasing in one continuous motion like the Bosmer do, holding with a short draw and a pause before releasing like the Khajiit, and partial draw, pause, final draw." Stringpool fired the arrow into the center of the target with cool precision. "And release, which I prefer." "Very nice," said Templar. "Now you," said Stringpool. He helped Templar select a grip, knock his arrow correctly, and take aim. A smile grew on Templar's face, the first time Stringpool had seen such a childlike expression on the war-etched visage all afternoon. When Templar released the arrow, it rocketed high over the top of the target and into the valley below, where it disappeared from sight. "Not bad," said Templar. "No, not bad," said Stringpool, feeling friendly once again. "If you practice, you should be able to focus your aim a little bit." The two shot a few more practice bolts before parting ways. Templar began the long trek east to his unit's camp, and Stringpool wound his way down through the woods to the valley and his family's mansion. He hummed a little tune he learned at the academy as he passed the great lawn and walked up to the front door, pleased with himself for helping his old friend. It entirely escaped his attention that the large picture window was broken, but he noticed right away when he came into the great hall and saw Templar's wild-shot bolt sticking in his gold ribbon of merit. As always, let's look at a few key terms before we get into the discussion. High Rock is the home province of the Bretons, a race of humans in the Elder Scrolls. They tend to be rather gifted with magic, though of course there are exceptions. Wayrest is a major city in High Rock and serves as the capital of Wayrest Kingdom, one of several kingdoms in High Rock. Ebony is a valuable and durable material created from lava flows of the massive volcano in Morrowind, Red Mountain. It's a black, glassy substance and can be used to make weapons and armor of incredible quality. Kinnereth is one of the deities known as the Nine Divines, gods worshipped by many cultures under many different names. In Skyrim, home of the Nords, she's often referred to as Kine, and she's the one that gifted ancient Nords the Thuum, or the Voice, the ability to channel the dragon language Dovazul into powerful shouts with magical effects. With this gift, the Nords were able to overthrow their oppressive dragon overlords and the cult of dragon priests.
But there's one they fear. In their tongue, he's Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
Bosmer are a race of elves in the Elder Scrolls. They're naturally gifted archers, so much so that they're objectively the best race to play in Morrowind if you want to specialize in marksmanship. They have a huge 15-point bonus to their marksman skill just on their race alone, so you'll start out at a massive advantage. Khajiit are the cat folk of the Elder Scrolls. They're native to the vast deserts of Elsewhere and have a long storied history and culture. I get into a bit more of that in the video on Night Falls on Sentinel. Click the card on screen now if you want to check out that video. Bolt is a term in archery used to refer to a shorter, more sturdily constructed projectile. Bolts are almost exclusively used with crossbows, not traditional bows, while bows use arrows. It's possible that Bethesda got it wrong here, but I think it's much more likely that it's the in-game author who made the mistake. Bethesda has consistently gotten their arrow-bolt distinctions correct with most ammunition in their games. So before we get into the lessons here, let's talk about archery. Given the description of Stringpool's bow as darkest ebony with spun silver filigree, I suspect it's an ebony bow. Morrowind actually doesn't have an ebony bow, excluding the artifact Oriel's bow, which is called ebony in the game files, but the description perfectly fits the ebony bow in Skyrim down to the silver accentuation. Stringing and unstringing a bow is the process of putting the bowstring on the bow frame. Archers will unstring their bow if they need to travel long distances without using their bow, or if they won't be using it for a while. This is done to relieve tension and stress on the bow itself. The three kinds of draws that Stringpool describes are actually based on real-world archery techniques. The first, the three-fingered draw, is called a Mediterranean draw. The second, the ones using the thumb, are known as pinch draws, where the archer will pinch the arrow between their thumb and fingers. And the third, which Stringpool says is his preferred method, is called a thumb draw or sometimes the Mongolian draw. The thingy that Stringpool mentions is actually called the thumb ring and is used to aid in the thumb draw to prevent injury to the archer's thumb. Okay, so the big lesson here is one we've seen before in these stories. Don't overestimate your own skill or underestimate others. Stringpool thinks of himself as so much better, so much more skilled than his old friend Templar that he utterly dismisses Templar's abilities and natural skill. Templar shoots what looks like a wild shot and it ends up flying far beyond what Stringpool expected. Stringpool dismisses it as power but no accuracy, only to find out that he nailed Stringpool's beloved gold ribbon of merit. The second lesson is to be humble. Sure, Templar could have made a big deal about his shot, insisted that they go find the arrow to rub the shot in his arrogant friend's face, but instead he simply said not bad and let Stringpool discover it on his own. In this story, neither character is a hero or villain, but Stringpool clearly comes across as a pompous ass, while Templar is much more modest, and because of that we root for Templar. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to shove it in other people's faces. Sure, be proud of your skill, but be humble. Finally, the final lesson is that the weapon does not make the man. Templar performed an incredible feat of marksmanship with a shoddy bow, which indicates his skill is such that his weapon is not what defines him as an archer. Your tools are important, but unless you have the skill to use them effectively, their quality makes no difference. I like this story. It's a fairly short one, but it has a good message, and Stringpool's realization at the end is hilarious. Whenever I read that name, Stringpool, I immediately think of some background member of the Deadpool Corps, just a version of Deadpool made of yarn or something. The Gold Ribbon of Merit can be found guaranteed in 2 locations in Morrowind, the Bandit Cave Kunirai north of Telicero and east of Suran, and in Minabi, a bandit cave directly south of Telicero. It's a skill book, so when you read it for the first time, you'll get a permanent 1-point bonus to your marksman skill, which dictates your ability with marksman weapons, bows, crossbows, and thrown weapons like shurikens and darts. The book can also be found in Oblivion and Skyrim. So that's the Gold Ribbon of Merit. What do you think of this story? Have you ever found it and read it yourself? Were there any lessons I missed? Let me know down in the comments. Next time, we'll take a look at the 4 Suitors of Benatar, which is a great one. There's also a poll up right now so you can help choose what we cover after that, the marksmanship lesson or the mirror. Thank you so much for watching. I can't believe we're already on the 10th episode of the Elder Scrolls Reading Club. It's a fun series. I love being able to talk about a game franchise I adore in a way that most other people don't discuss. If you liked what you just watched, the best way you can support me and what I do here on the channel is by hitting the like button, leaving a comment, and subscribing. It all does really help out. It tells YouTube that you enjoyed it so much that you're inclined to do that, and YouTube then suggests my videos to more people. If you want to watch the entire Elder Scrolls Reading Club playlist, click here. Or click here to watch a video on every single dark side, force power, and Star Wars. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.